Welcome back to the best division in football with Awthentik and The Beard, presented by All or Nothing Studios. What's up, team? Thanks for tuning in tonight for our Tuesday recap show. We got 4 NFC East games to recap tonight. We're also going to touch on the rest of the league. It was a bloody Sunday as far as injuries are concerned. Culminated in the Las Vegas Raiders christening their new hometown, their brand new stadium, with a victory on Monday night over the New Orleans Saints. Let's bring in the stars of the show, The Beard. What's going on, man?
Man, just a little case of the Monday blues after that Washington football showing. But, I spent most of the day. I had my live sale yesterday on my YouTube channel, so I spent all day packing orders and then listening to the overreaction of Washington football team fans all day on the radio. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I spent my day. I did have a crazy fantasy football comeback window last night. Last play of the game, it gave me the victory. It was wild. It was wild.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara, he demolished me last night. I had a little bit of a chance, and he totally just extinguished it. Authentic, your G-men are 0-2, but I know you got other stuff going on in life, man. How's the project coming?
Project's coming along good, man. I got my last feature back from Kane just a couple of days ago, man. Super hyped for this record. That one's got a surprise feature from my homie Adversary, who I came up rapping with actually early on. Week's been pretty in the dumps, man. Y'all know the news. We got Saquon Barkley out for the year. Surprisingly, not feeling as crappy as I thought I would be. Ordered a new hard drive, actually. It came in today, and I was digging through a bunch of old files, just trying to reallocate and organize some things, and I found this beat folder called Album Beats, and it was from like 2011. And I started skimming through them. I had a couple from my homie Sergio Cortez. I had one from my homie Ciroc, one from my homie Grussel. I'm going to actually play a couple of these beats today on the show, man. I'm thinking about just reviving these and making a whole nother album with these old beats from damn near a decade ago. So that end of things looking pretty good. Football side of things looking a little bit crazy, but we made a move today. We'll get to that later.
I'm looking forward to Authentic Lost Tapes Nas type thing coming out with all these things you just rediscovered. All right, well, folks, I got a secret for you. You guys picked a great night to tune in and hang out with us. We have a super special guest on the program. That's why I'm dressed like I am, because we're having company. This is the play-by-play king himself, Entertainah, talking sports. What's up, buddy?
Thank you guys for having me on, man. You guys do such a great job. I honestly think this is like the most underrated podcast on YouTube. Every time I see it, it's so professionally done. Authentic has always been one of my best supporters ever since I had, 400 subscribers, and I was streaming from my apartment in Brooklyn, and he's always supported me, and I always try to support him whenever I can, and it's a thrill to come on here. He did a great job on my channel a couple of days ago, and we got a lot to talk about. NFC East news, of course, the Giants, the Washington football team, however you want to pronounce it, they didn't look too good week 2 either. The Cowboys had a miracle win, and I'm looking forward to jumping into all of it with all you guys, and thank you for all my subscribers for popping in.
Yeah, we're excited to have Tana in here tonight, spitting some knowledge for us. He's a big Giants fan, so him and Authentic can chop that up a little bit. We're going to talk about first game, Rams and Eagles. Eagles fell to the Rams. It was 37-19. Once again, Philly was slow out of the gate again this week. The Rams scored touchdowns on their first 3 possessions. That boy Jared Goff was on fire. 2 second-quarter touchdowns by the Eagles kind of narrowed the Rams' lead. It was down to 5, I believe, at halftime. Miles Sanders even got in on the action, got himself a touchdown. Carson Wentz, though, 2 costly interceptions in the second half, extinguishing hopes of any type of comeback. Eagles 0-2, like I said. Now they might have a $32 million question under center. The Beard, I got a quick question for you, buddy. Vegas saw this game as a toss-up game. I think it was like a 1.5, 2-point spread. After watching the game, do you give all your credit to Sean McVay and the Rams for pulling it out, or do you think the Eagles just laid a stinker or what?
I mean, it's a little both. If you look at the way the Rams have performed in the first 2 games, I think they've kind of gotten back to that rhythm that they were in when they made that run a couple years ago. Goff looks very efficient, and the running game is kind of coming back a little bit. Last year, their running game was not that good. Their running game has definitely come back a little bit. But at the same time, the Eagles are really going through, they're banged up, yes. But as we all know, after this last weekend, everybody's banged up. It's just there seems to be there's like a lack of, it's not chemistry, but they're just not all clicking on the same page. And you have Deshaun Jackson, you have Jalen Reagor, but there's no big plays. They had one big play against the Washington football team in the first week. But besides that, they're really lacking the big plays. They have the ability to go to the tight ends, and that's been successful for them. But every time they get to the tight ends, then they kind of start to like go away from the tight end. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And then Miles Sanders came back this week and actually played fairly well, but they were down early so quick. Their defense, and I think it's interesting because there's a lot of defensive questions in the division in the NFC East. And the Eagles are definitely up there with like what's going on with their defense, because in years past, the Eagles defense has been, pretty clutch.
Their strength.
It's been one of their strong points. But as of late, and especially in these first 2 games of the season, they're like every other team in the NFC East. And we'll talk about that at some point tonight, about these slow starts and just digging themselves in a hole. So I think it was a little bit of both, but most of us, on the show had the Rams winning that game anyways. So the Rams are looking better and the Eagles are looking a lot worse than I think most of us had thought they were going to be.
Yeah, they had the injury issues last year, which they could blame, was a blame for their slow start. They came on strong late in the season, made the playoffs. So this is a question for Tana and for Awthentik. You guys can answer it individually. When you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, you're saving tons of money. You can spread it out. You can have a deep roster with talent all over the field. The minute you extend that quarterback and give him a deal, like Carson Wentz was given in 2019 with a $132 million deal, you can't have that anymore. You all of a sudden, you're thinned out a little bit. You're expecting this guy you're paying to elevate the roster around him. Entertainah, do you see Carson Wentz as a guy that makes the players around him better, or do you think it's just a system that's failing right now?
It's funny you bring that up because both these teams went through that. They extended Goff also, I think, the year before. And I'll tell you what, man, speaking about the Rams real quick, I love what they've been doing coming out. They ran the ball 40 times their first game. They ran it 39 times this game. I just looked up the stats. They had almost 200 yards on the ground. McVay's getting back to what this team does best, and that's grounding and pounding. They went out there. They beat up on the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm impressed with the Rams. I thought they'd be impressive. I thought they'd win this game. I didn't think they'd win it that handily. As far as Carson Wentz goes, I mean, his coach kind of came out and questioned him a little bit. They asked Doug Peterson, and he kind of gave like an iffy answer, and he didn't really back up his quarterback, which surprised me. I've always thought Carson Wentz was one of the more talented quarterbacks in the league. The question with him is his durability. The guy's had a number of injuries, and the question you got to have here is this Eagles offensive line is banged up. It's not what it was, and everybody pointed to the wide receivers last year. And they all the Eagles fans came up with this statistic. They didn't have a receiver that caught for over 500 yards, I think it was. But what they failed to point out was you guys still had one of the best offensive lines in the sport. Once that offensive line starts to disappear a little bit, you're starting to see that this year. I think that's the major reason why you're starting to see Carson Wentz in this offense and this offense struggle. And he continues to have fumbling problems. People talk about Daniel Jones with that. Carson Wentz fumbled the ball 14 times last year. I think he fumbled twice week 1. I'm not sure how many times he fumbled in this game, but I know he had 2 more picks. I think the biggest problem there is the O-line. I still think Wentz is a good quarterback, but like you said, and we know this as Giants fans, once Eli Manning got that huge contract, it's hard to fill out a roster. It's hard to support him with a good offensive line, especially if you can't draft well. And the Eagles this year, I thought, drafted horribly. So I don't think they've done Carson Wentz many favors in the draft in recent years, and I think it's starting to catch up with him.
Yeah,
I got to agree with Tanner on that, man. Carson Wentz is a very capable quarterback, but the pieces around him are struggling. Even in this game here, they get down 21-3 in the first quarter, and you're asking a lot from your quarterback to try to break that kind of a deficit. You can't commit to the run when you're down that many points, and then you get Carson Wentz throwing 2 interceptions in the second quarter, and they still manage to get to halftime only down by 1 touchdown, So I just think they're not putting the right people around him. It's also got a lot to do with injuries. Coming into this year without Miles Sanders week 1, you see what happened here. If they could have relied on this running game just a little bit longer and hung around, kept the score a little bit closer in that first quarter, I think you see a 100-yard day out of Miles Sanders. Instead, I think you got, 90 yards from Miles? The yards per clip was really, really, really good for Miles, but they just couldn't commit to the running game because they were down by too many points. Same goes for week 1 with them. You get that big lead, and then that offense just goes kaput. And you have no adjustments made by Doug Peterson. Scotty, I know you high on Doug Peterson. I'm high on Doug Peterson, too. I thought he's been a great coach. He's slicing the Giants up year in, year out. And to see him come out 2 weeks in a row here and really not be able to make the adjustment is kind of unfortunate if you're an Eagles fan here. But I do think that the Eagles will come around a little bit later in the season here. They tend to start slow like this a lot. I can remember the last 2 times they won a division. They started off slow, and then you see them at the end of the year playing these games that I swear they set up on the calendar so that it's like Cowboys, Eagles right at the end of the year. And you'll see the Eagles coming out with a W and then somehow sneaking their way into the playoffs. But, yeah, I got to agree with Tanner, man. I think they got to start with the offensive line over there. Alshon Jeffries, we knew that he was an injury kind of prone player before coming over here from Chicago. And to pair him with Carson Wentz, who you also got to worry about the injuries. It's like you can't get one or the other in both games. I'd like to see him with all his weapons full throttle. Deshaun Jackson showed up in this game, though. I got to give him that 6 catches. I've been hating on him going across the middle and not getting the intermediate routes. But I'm with you on that. I'm not a big fan of Deshaun Jackson either. I mean, it's like, get in the game, run the fly, and that's about it. But, yeah, man, the Eagles are going to continue to struggle, I think, for a couple weeks here. But I'd say by about week 8, week 9, we'll see them start to get things rolling.
Giants fans, you guys just have like a deep-seated fear of Deshaun Jackson. You guys will hate him wherever he is, whoever's throwing him the ball. Giants fans don't like him. It's a fact.
Yeah.
We're gonna hop into a quick commercial break, and then we're gonna come back with the Giants recap. I know you guys are all waiting for, so hang tight with us. All right, so we're not going to make you wait too long for our Giants recap since we got Entertainah here hanging out with us tonight. The New York Giants did host the Chicago Bears on Sunday, fell to the Trubisky tribe 17-13. Much like the rest of the NFC East, like we already mentioned, the Giants came out of the gates extremely slow before rallying the second half to give themselves a chance. Saquon Barkley, star running back, lost for the season, torn ACL on the very first play of the second quarter. After that, obviously, quarterback Daniel Jones has an uphill battle. Finishes 25 of 40. He had 240 yards. No touchdown passes for the first time in his career, I believe. He had an interception and a costly lost fumble. Personally, I think the defense showed a lot in the second half. There's a lot of talent. Dave Gettleman gets a lot of crap from Giants fans, period. His free agent additions are starting to come around big time. Everybody he's added, like 1 or 2 pieces every year, really starting to show out, and they completely they blanked the Bears in the second half. They shut them out. So let's start with some questions. Awthentik, there's a lot to digest from the game. How did you see? Give me some pros, some cons. What looked good? What looked bad?
I'll tell you what looked bad was that first half. The Giants are shooting themselves in the foot in the first half of every game. Look at these first 6 possessions the Giants had on Sunday. Fumble, punt, interception, punt, missed field goal, punt. The fact that we were actually in that game and it came down to a last-second throw, 10 seconds left in the game to win the game is ridiculous. And they didn't call the pass interference call correctly on that one. I feel like I do think Golden Tate did push off, but as well, I mean, the cornerback is climbing over his shoulder trying to make that play. To me, I either see offsetting penalties happening there and the Giants getting that back and getting another chance, or you got defensive pass interference, Giants coming in from the 1. Super fortunate to really have no running game. Saquon leaves that game after 4 carries, and he's the leading rusher in the game. And still to be in the game. I mean, these 0-2 starts for the Giants, it's the norm now, and it's starting to get annoying. I'm coming in with hope every season, trying to be optimistic, but I'm about to start coming in super pessimistic because this is ridiculous. The Giants have been 0-2 for 7 of the last 8 seasons. 4 straight years in a row we've been 0-2. I think that that's just unacceptable, and they got to change the culture around it to try to get wins in these first 2 weeks. Wayne Gallman was inactive in this game. I don't know what they're doing with Wayne Gallman, who I think is a pretty solid running back who can get the job done, who can come in as a relief-type running back and still be able to run hard. I like Deion Lewis. I like what he did in this game in relief for Saquon Barkley. But for Saquon to go down and you only have 1 running back on the roster is unacceptable to me. Joe Judge was talking about the reason why he did that was to have some more depth on the defensive side of the ball, which did show out. The Giants come into this game, the first half, we allow the 17 points or whatever it was. Yeah, 17 points. And then we hold the Bears scoreless in the second half. So this defense, whatever they're doing at halftime every week seems to be working. Now, we got to take into consideration that we played 2 of the best defenses in the NFL. I came in, I underrated the Chicago Bears defense this year. They were coming into week 2 with only 1 sack. I underrated them. I called them a poor man's Pittsburgh Steelers defense, but they clearly showed up in this game. I think they had 4 sacks on Danny Jones. Pressure on them all day. the first half, again, just super, super ridiculous. I think what could have been an aid to this is Matt coming in, and also Robert Quinn debuted, and I think that aided to the 4 sacks in this game. The Bears are just such a fluke team. They've won both their games on the last play of the game. They beat the Lions week 1 on the drop by the rookie, and this week we see them, they win off another defensive stop. Daniel Jones can't punch the ball into Golden Tate. A lot of negative in this game. Martinez was one positive, but in coverage, I'm still a little sketchy about him, but he did have 8 tackles to lead our team again for 2 weeks straight. Chicago, man, just such an iffy team. I don't know why the Giants can't get over the hump. And the home team has won this game. 6 of the last 6 meetings, the home team has won every one of them. So that would have viewed it well for the Chicago Bears. Had I seen that stat before going into this game, maybe I would have rechanged my mind on the pick.
Probably not.
But yeah, man, the Bears just, man, just they blew me because I felt like this was a game we could win. I was all on board with Bad Dog with the predicting the win before this, even though he was super not having them kind of vibes during the broadcast y'all had. Entertainer, he was like, "Oh, we're gonna lose the game." As soon as they scored 2 scores up on us, he was ready to go. But man, the Giants got to get it together. I don't know what we're gonna do about this running game. We had more first downs than the Bears in the game, if that meant anything. You know, offensively, just shot ourselves in the foot with the Saquon Barkley injury and really not knowing how to adapt quickly enough once Saquon went out the game. But I think Daniel Jones held his own, 25 of 40, 241 yards, no touchdowns. It's his first game that he didn't throw a touchdown in, I believe, of all the starts that he's had. He had the 1 interception. It just seems like he's just continuously turning the ball over. I think he only had the 1 fumble and the 1 interception in his game, but it feels like 5 turnovers every week. The boy got to clean it up. I mean, I'm just looking for better play out of this team. I mean, they're trying, though. I do think that this team is trying a lot harder than the previous 3 years. Those teams just seem to just give up. We was having all the coaching and player personnel problems with Janoris Jenkins and others having beef with the coach, with Pat Shurmur. Thank God he's out of here. I do see this team on the uptick. I do see this Giants team on the uptick. Joe Judge, get him back. Let's play some physical ball. Get this running game going. I heard about a smash signing we did today. I didn't get to see your video, Entertainer, but I'm looking forward to seeing that. I saw your 2 other videos. I saw the Trevor Lawrence video. I was hype off that video. I gave that 2 thumbs up. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what these running backs can do in relief, because who knows, this might spark the Giants running game, because we got to find more ways to be able to run the ball now. We're not just relying on a stud star like Saquon Barkley. We got to really make this work with the offensive line first.
That was fantastic. I mean, you broke down pretty much the whole game. That was awesome.
I'm trying.
The one player I didn't hear you mention was Bradbury. To me, James Bradbury had the best performance. I think he had the highest PFF grade of any DB in football this week. He was ridiculous. The interception he came up with, where he just ripped it out of the wide receiver's hands. Didn't even have the opportunity to turn around and look at the ball. He read the receiver. One of the best plays I've seen in years for a defensive player for the New York Giants. He also batted the other ball that came up with an interception. So I thought Bradbury was phenomenal. And thus far, he's been a fantastic signing. Martinez, same thing. He's definitely outperformed what the skeptics have said, at least through the first 2 weeks. We got 4 sacks, mainly covered sacks. But the Giants defense, to me, through 2 weeks, has been much better than I think rational fans should have anticipated. I think they've played much better than I thought they would. The offense, not so much. And, of course, the Saquon Barkley injury, it hurts, man. I love Saquon Barkley. He's my favorite player on the team. I think he's most people's favorite player on the team. And they're going to have to make do. They got Freeman. I think they're going to take a running back by committee approach. As far as the team goes as a whole, the one thing that I love is they fought. And like you were saying, in years prior, you're down 17-0 at the half. Shepard's out. Barkley's out. This team quits. And Judge got them to come out, and they fought their butts off, and they were within 10 yards of winning that football game. So the defense kept them in the game. They came up with 2 huge turnovers. Jones, the fumble was unacceptable. That can't happen. It's not even the fumble. It's the way that he fumbled. That can't happen. You're in the pocket. You got 4 seconds. You're holding the ball like a loaf of bread up along your side. You got to have enough pocket awareness there to at least realize that the pressure is going to be coming. You got to have a mental clock in your head. You got to tuck that ball and take the sack. And that's something that he's going to have to improve on throughout the year. I thought Jones had a fantastic drive in this game, much like the Steeler game. This time they were able to punch it in from the 1-yard line where they handed it to Lewis. I think it was like a 95-yard drive. And I was encouraged to see that because they didn't line up in the I formation at the goal line last week. So they were able to punch it in with Lewis. I thought the offensive line played better. They couldn't have played worse. but I thought the offensive line played better in this game. Still not up to snuff, but I think it's going to take another 3, 4, 5 weeks till they hit their stride. You got 3 new starters. I took some positives from this game, but of course it sucks to go into, like you said, it's 4 years in a row, and all we can do is hope that we could beat up on a beat up San Francisco 49er team this week, and I think we can. I think we got an opportunity. Their best players are out. Obviously Barkley's out, but with the running back by committee approach, I think the Giants can come out with a W. Jones, like you said, can't keep turning the football over, and he's got pressure now. There's no doubt about it. You're starting to hear fans talk about tank for Trevor. Are we going to have to move on from the quarterback? And Eli Manning had to deal with this his entire career. This is nothing new for the New York Giants, and I am hoping more so than anybody, just as much as any fan, because I know most Giant fans, they want to see Jones succeed. They want to see him go out there and prove the doubters wrong, and I think he's going to. I think he's going to have a good game this week. I really do.
You guys got to remind me, you Giants fans, when was the last time the Giants had a quarterback that the fans felt good about, didn't call for his head every bad game? Because I can't remember.
It doesn't happen.
Not in my lifetime.
No, but seriously, I mean, Kerry Collins
Phil
all the
Simms?
way up.
Not even. I remember with Phil Simms, Bill Parcells had a lot of beef with Phil Simms and wanted to bench that first year.
Right?
Yeah, Hostler came in the 80s. I was reading up some funny stats about the Giants back then. Like, Bill Parcells took that job because the coach that they had hired, I forget his name, he couldn't coach the season. So in 1980 or whatever it was, 1981, Bill Parcells came in as the relief coach, and he took the job because the other guy didn't take it.
And the rest is history.
My friend, when Eli was in his second year, 2005, my friend used to say that we should start Jared Lorenzen. Jared Lorenzen was like 400 pounds, the hefty lefty.
The hefty lefty.
So, it is what it is, man. I'm used to this, and I think Jones will overcome it. It's just a matter of getting the flow of the offense, getting that offensive line down. It may take 3 or 4 more weeks for them to hit their stride, but I do think this offense will look a lot better as the season progresses.
It's kind of crazy. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I got a question for you, but say what you're going to say first, and I'll ask you.
I was going to say it's kind of crazy because we had touched base on it a few times early on in this season of the podcast about how Daniel Jones had yet to play a single snap, before the season started, with Saquon,
with
Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram all on the field at the same time. And it literally lasted for a quarter.
Yeah.
Exactly one quarter.
And because that was the first time that it had happened. And then it just it was terrible too, because the Saquon thing, you saw the first one was with the wrist.
Yeah.
And then everybody was kind of a little freaked out then. And then it was a couple plays later, it was the knee. And it's just, anybody who's a football fan hates to see something like that happen, especially to a guy like Saquon Barkley, who, I've watched plays since college, and I've always been a big fan of him. And he has a great work ethic. And I think, he's one of these guys that's really going to take this rehab serious. He's going to bounce back. And it's just unfortunate situation for the Giants as an organization. And as far as just this game goes, too, I think, I was listening to Entertainah and Awthentik and everybody on Entertainah's channel the other night, and a lot of people were talking about Evan Ingram. And I thought Evan Ingram kind of stepped up a little bit.
Yeah, he had a bounce
as far
back
as
game.
that game goes. He had 6
it almost
catches.
happened after the
Exactly.
injury. That was the tough part about it.
He did nothing in the first half. It was all
He
the
did
second half.
nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even think he had a catch in the first half. He ended up with 6 catches and 60 yards, that's not really his style of play, because Evan Ingram is usually the guy who's going to get the big play if he gets over 3 or 4 catches normally. Seems like he was more like 9 yards a catch here and there, didn't really get the big play. But I was happy to see him, have a better game, because I know the Giants fan base is really putting the pressure on Evan Ingram, probably even more so than Daniel Jones, because Evan Ingram has been around. He's since that Sterling Shepard, Odell Beckham trio we've had for so long. He's been here in the mix, and he's another one who can't stay healthy. The NFL is becoming if you can't stay healthy, we're going to get rid of you. And that might yield some better results for another team when that player gets traded away. But I don't know who could fill that void for a star like what we potentially think Evan Ingram is going to be, because Caden Smith is a solid tight end, but he doesn't jump off the page to me. He kind of reminds me of Kevin Boss was.
Kevin Boss, Jake Ballard, that type of tight end.
Just like Ballard. Yeah, good blocker, solid blocker, and can catch the ball, but he's not going to make anybody miss with his legs. So I don't know what to do with Evan Ingram. I was texting with my homie Patrick, he's another Giants fan. And during the game, when we were down, I was like, yo, just get rid of them all. Just start over. Keep everybody that's young and just start over, because this team, I just feel like this is that same squad, that the offense feels like that same wide receiver core from back when it was Odell, Sterling Shepard, and I forget who the third was back then. We had Dominique Hickson, I think, maybe for a little while, and then it was somebody after him. Oh, the special teams.
We had King, right?
King was there for a little, and then it was Harris from the Cowboys too, who was getting a little bit of snaps at wide receiver. But this core just feels like that. And then when these injuries start to happen like this, it literally feels like that Brandon Marshall game. I was talking about this on your stream, where we lost all our wide receivers in one game, and Harris was a part of that. Brandon Marshall and Odell Beckham and Sterling Shepard. They all got hurt in that game. Sterling Shepard ends up coming back that year. But it just feels like that. You got all this hope, and then it's deflated by a major injury. And on this Saquon injury, I don't think we can blame this one on the offensive line, because he was out in open field. Things looked like he was just starting to really get his flow, and we were going to see him get a couple yards. He was averaging, I think, like 7 yards a clip. He had 4 for
Yeah, he was just getting going, in that game. That run that he got hurt on was a great run.
Yeah, he had, I think it was 4 for 28, and his first run was -1 yard. So he had 3 carries for 29 yards over his next 3.
Yeah, man, it's super unfortunate. I saw that he deleted all his Instagram posts off that were Giants. I don't know what's going to happen with Saquon Barkley going into next year, because he's in a contract year. What the Giants are going to do. I saw your video today, Tanner, and you said you're pretty confident they're going to bring him back, you would imagine. And
I look at the Barkley situation right now, and I say to myself, who's going to trade for him right now? I just don't see it, because he's coming off an ACL injury. Who's going to pay a premium price to trade for him? If the Giants, he's still got 1 more year in his rookie deal, then the Giants have the option to extend him. But if I'm the Giants, I let him come back next year if he can prove he's healthy. And if your plan is to trade him, he's got to get out on the field and he's got to play great. So I don't know what the Giants' plan is going to be. But regardless, if he's ready to play next year, it'll be in a Giants uniform. I don't see anybody trading.
So we do got 1 more year on Saquon's contract, the rookie deal, before we're going to 2022, where he'll have to re-sign.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the great first-round running backs like Todd Gurley, Zeke Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, traditionally in recent history, they'll extend after 3 years because of the short shelf life of the running back position. So that's why a lot of people thought he'd get the extension after this year if he proved he was healthy. That's obviously not going to happen now. But the Giants still have really under 2 more years of rookie control, because they got the option for the rookie extension on year 5.
It's going to be
that should be some better results for Saquon. Give him at least another year to try to prove himself, because if this would have been the contract year, that would have been super tough going out week 2 with an injury like that, and then having to come back next year trying to figure out what your job's going to be.
Yeah.
It's even more unfortunate with the Tiki comments last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago, when he's saying Saquon runs soft or something. When you see comments like that and Saquon's a good guy, you really root for the guy to come out and then have a couple big weeks to kind of shut up Tiki Barber. Because, you don't have any rings with us, so we don't need to hear from you anymore, right? Yeah.
And Tiki, like I said last week, I thought that Tiki's comments were because it's so close to home for him, and that he has kind of relinquished his relationship with the Giants now, and it's not like the bad guy type vibes after the comments he made about Eli Manning. And I do think what he said was true, and he said that Joe Judge is probably telling Saquon the exact same thing. Like, if you can't block on third downs, we're going to have to find somebody to put in there that can block on third downs. But media-wise, I do think people jump the gun on that, and we're all saying, like, oh, is Saquon a third down or 3-down back? Can he pick up protection while he's in pass protection and things like that? That was a little bit overhyped, but it is unfortunate to see him go down before even getting to prove himself. But I just think Saquon, man, that dude is a fighter. He's one of the best running backs I've seen in a 1-year kind of glimpse. He's had one of the better years I've seen since I've been paying attention to football, very vividly. So I do think he'll be back, man. And Joe Judge was confident about that too. Hopefully the Giants can find a way to salvage this season, and I think it's going to start with trying to find a way to get this running game clicking for sure. The signing of Devonta Freeman is going to that might be good. His last year in Atlanta, he didn't look that great. I think he only had 600 yards. He was averaging 3 points something a carry. But, it's a show me kind of thing now. He's got to prove that he can actually play too, because this could lead to another contract for him. He's still a young back. I want to say he's only 28, 29 years old.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of him and Deion Lewis as a duo running back, because I feel like, old Devontae Freeman could get outside, and he could take those runs now. But now he's probably going to be more of a between the tackles sort of run. With Dion Lewis, a lot of people don't realize how versatile Dion Lewis really is. Before he went to, the Titans, and because he didn't get a lot of run with the Titans, but because of Derrick Henry. But when he was with the Patriots, and even when he was his first year signing with the Tennessee Titans, he just his pass catching ability, his speed, his ability to make defenders miss, and he's not scared to run between the tackles. You probably won't see a lot of it, but he's definitely not scared to do it. And I just think that if, like Entertainah was saying, that running back by committee, if you utilize that the right way, it can definitely take a little bit of pressure off of Daniel Jones. And I mean, like, it's easy to say because with Saquon Barkley, you're thinking the same thing. Like, Saquon Barkley is one of the best running backs in the league. He should be able to take pressure off of Daniel Jones. But I think just being able to kind of like have two running backs with completely different running styles in an offense, it just creates a little bit more of work that the defense has to do in preparation.
And a lot of just imbalance. Just you keeping the defense on their heels. I think you saw a great example of that with the Rams. I mean, look at the kid they put in here against the Eagles, Darrell Henderson. 12 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. The week before, it was the kid Brown, who I'd never heard of him. I'm not even going front. I had never heard of him. Then you got the rookie Akers, who was coming in. You could tell they were trying to implement him in the game plan, too, but now he went down with an injury as well. I'm not sure if it's for the whole year or not.
Ribs, he'll be back in a couple weeks.
So he should be back. I mean, you see success with teams like that. I think Philadelphia has done it really well in the past, too. I mean, they had Scott running all over the Redskins just last season, along with a couple other backs, Miles Sanders, a few others. The Giants and a few other teams, Dallas being one of them too, are the kind of teams that rely on the one back kind of philosophy that we're trying to have a workhorse. But even Dallas tried it last year with their rookie Pollard. He came in and got a bunch of carries, and he showed up. He seemed to be a pretty decent back. He's getting a couple carries this year too. But the Giants, they got to capitalize on that. I mean, stop thinking like this is 1992 Giants football. Like, I want to hammer the ball just as much as anybody else does. But, like, at the same time, let's bring in some different tempoed backs, because Dion Lewis definitely had success in this game last week. And had Saquon Barkley may have stayed healthy, I mean, who knows what would have happened.
Wait, no HB dives?
No HB dives.
we
not a single back.
We should know this better than anybody, guys. 2006, Tiki Barber was what Saquon Barkley was. And I think he led the league in rushing in 06, if I'm not mistaken. And then he retired, and our running attack actually got better when he left because we had a running back by committee approach. You had Brandon Jacobs, you had Derek Ward, you had Ahmad Bradshaw. The Giants actually had a more potent running offense because we had a running back by committee. So just because you lose a superstar, which is what Saquon Barkley was, it's what Tiki Barber was, it doesn't mean you can't have an effective ground game.
And that's a good point. That's a good point because we talked about this a couple weeks ago. When you're a running team and that's what you build your identity around, it really doesn't matter who's in the backfield. The Patriots have been a running football team. Even during Tom Brady's tenure, they always ran the football. Name me one Pro Bowl running back the Patriots have had the last 20 years.
Facts.
I can't name you one. But if you have the system in place, I don't want to say running backs are worthless, but they are interchangeable if the system is there. There's no doubt about it. The Beard, let me get one question to you real quick before we go around the league. At 2:03 p.m. on Sunday, the Washington team didn't play till 4, so I wasn't tuned in 100%. But at 2:03 p.m. on Sunday, the Giants, Eagles, and Cowboys were collectively losing with a combined score of 51-3. What? What in the world? What in the world does the NFC East have to do better as a collective unit to start these games fast? I know we got young quarterbacks, we got young systems, we're kind of moving along, but this slow starts you can't win that way, right?
I don't know. Maybe they might have to, up the earlier time of the Adderall dosages, I guess. I mean,
NFL's going to cut the stream off right now.
I mean, it's crazy because it's really probably like an anomaly that, something like that is happening because, for me as watching the Washington football team, that is literally the biggest issue right now with them. And it's crazy because with the Giants, we talk about it with their defense. Like, look at the difference in the way that their defense performs in the first half and the second half.
Yeah.
With the Washington football team, it's completely the offense. Like, the offense is non-existent in the first half. And somebody in the chat just said 3 new head coaches. And I think that might have something to do with it. It doesn't really help Philly's explanation, but, I mean, it definitely does because what it is showing you, too, is it's not just the 3 new coaches, right? But it's also thinking about COVID camp, basically, is what I've been referring to it as. Because, and then Kelly just touched on it, too. It's just no preseason has a big effect on it. Because what it is that halftime, the coaches, they're being allowed to do these sort of halftime adjustments, right? But right now, at this point in the season, there seems to be a big struggle with in-game adjustments. You know, in-game adjustments is a big difference than halftime adjustments.
Facts.
Even though halftime is, you know, it's a lot shorter for the actual players and the coaches than it is for us at home. You know, it's just different timing-wise because you got to think about, you know, coming back on the field, leaving the field, you know, doing all of those sort of responsibilities, getting retaped up and everything like that. But it's probably something that I would imagine and I would hope as a fan of the Washington football team, and I'm sure you guys would hope the same thing as Giants fans, and if any of the Cowboys fans in the chat, I'm sure everybody would like to see some earlier in-game adjustments done by this coaching staff. I'm sure they would like to see just an overall quicker pace because we've talked about it countless amount of times with Dwayne Haskins. It's just like they need to be able to get him in that rhythm, and I think that says the same thing for somebody like Daniel Jones because we've all seen Daniel Jones when he's in rhythm. And I'm not just talking about that first game against Tampa Bay. I'm talking about there's been times where we've all seen Daniel Jones perform once he's given that rhythm. Yeah. And we've seen Dak do it too. I mean, and what's crazy with the Cowboys is that, you know, Zeke still hasn't gone over 100 yards in these first 2 games. But that defense, the Cowboys and the Eagles
40.
defenses are really looking not so hot right now. At least the Giants and the football team are showing flashes. I know it's so difficult
The
to
Giants
say.
and the football team.
What name, by the way, did you guys want for your team? What name do you want?
I'm a Red Tails guy.
Red Tails?
I like the Red Tails.
Keep it where it is, man. Just call us the Teamers. The football Teamers. Like the uniforms.
Shout out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Awthentik and I have been talking about it because he don't like how the colors are mismatched.
Oh yeah, that don't look right. It looked like y'all tried to
helmets.
take last year's jerseys and pair it with a new helmet this year. So the helmet has yellow or gold numbers, as y'all like to refer to it as. Got the gold number, but then the jersey has a red number. It's just a little. It looks mismatched. It looks like, hey, let's salvage them jerseys from last year. Just unstitch the Redskins and put Washington. I was gonna say football team.
I know.
Just for Washington, and we'll just rock with those. But it just looks a little janky. But I like the helmet. I think the new helmet is in the direction. You know, I think the helmet is fire. But here's the crazy part about that. They were all in a meeting and they were like, all right, so what we gonna name the team for a year? And somebody was like, the football team. And they was like, yeah.
That's the best you guys can come up with? Come on.
That's crazy to me, yo.
And look, they wanted to go. I heard that they wanted to go the Washington Football Club, but then they were worried about being able to not distinguish the difference between the soccer team.
Oh my God.
The Washington, I guess there's another Washington FC or something like that, and they were worried about the people not being able to distinguish between the two, which is weird to me anyways. But a lot of people here in the city, they like the Red Wolves. I know Fred Smoot.
It's not terrible.
Fred Smoot is. I don't know if anybody
Wolves
here
aren't red
in the
though,
chat.
right? Wolves aren't
What's
red.
that?
Wolves
No,
aren't
they're
red.
not.
No, they're
Brad's
not.
making up something new. A red wolf.
But you know me, for me, I said it in the first episode of this season. I was like, look, the Red Tails works best because the fight song for the Washington football team, right, is one of the most important things as a fan. Like, you know, like the hail, all of that, like that's a huge part about being a fan here in
You
DC.
could still say HTTR as well if you kept the name that way.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. Is like you want to be able to try and incorporate as much of the old feeling, right? Without like crossing the line into the Redskins and, you know, without like revisiting the horrible last 20 years we've had as a franchise in general. But it's going to be interesting. Like I had heard rumors that Daniel Snyder is contemplating keeping it the Washington football team.
Come on.
I'll just say,
That looked crazy.
I heard the rumor.
Somebody in the chat said Red Wolves are a thing. That's a real thing, supposedly.
I saw that in the chat. I Googled it. They look like coyotes. They're gray. I mean, it says a tawny reddish color. I don't know what that word is.
Interesting.
They don't look red to me.
I want to give a big shout out to everybody in the chat too who's watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Periscope. We're all over the place today, and I see a lot of folks in here. My man Wes Fox, what's going on, Wes? How you doing, brother? So yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate y'all stopping through.
All right,
so Sonora in the building. I ain't seen him in a minute.
I was gonna say there's a lot of Entertainah fans with us tonight. You gotta love that, man.
What's up, guys?
We are an NFC East based broadcast. You guys know that, but we're also going to touch on the rest
Scotty,
of the league.
somebody said Washington Entertainers.
ERS, though. We want AHS at the end. We want it spelled like Entertainah spells it. Yeah, I want it spelled like that.
My bad.
Week 2 of the NFL season, Sunday, Bloody Sunday. It was notable for an absurd amount of injuries, not only to scrubs, but a bunch of top-tier players. I'll go through the list. We already mentioned Saquon Barkley out for the season. Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Bruce Irvin all suffered knee injuries. They're done for the year. Christian McCaffrey, Jimmy Garoppolo, Raheem Mostert, Drew Lock, Anthony Barr, and Devontae Adams are all likely to miss time. If you put those guys on one team together, that's a Pro Bowl team right there.
That's the first 2 rounds of your fantasy draft.
No question.
no, exactly right. So with that being said, what do you guys attribute this to? We're going to start with the Entertainah. Is it lack of preseason? Is it the MetLife turf that we've heard so much about? Or what do you say these injuries are a part of?
I think it's definitely the preseason, and not just preseason, just the lack of an offseason in general. I mean, these guys basically, the way they stayed in shape was just their own workout rooms and their treadmills and everything else. You didn't have the OTAs. You didn't have the mandatory mini camps. You didn't have preseason. Yeah, you could stay in shape, but there's a difference between being in shape and being in football shape. You can't simulate contact, not the way that it is in a game. And I absolutely think that is the primary reason for why there's been so many injuries. And I kind of expected it. I mean, to the NFL's credit, I think they've done a great job in terms of the testing to make sure that these guys are staying healthy. I don't think there's been one player that's tested positive for the virus. But, I mean, it's not really the NFL's fault. It's what they had to do with everything that's going on in the world right now. But I think if you were being realistic, you had to expect a lot more injuries this year due to the fact, like you just said, there's no preseason games. There's not a normal offseason. So it's kind of what I expected.
Authentic, man, what's going on with this MetLife turf that I've heard so much about the last 72 hours?
Yeah, people was talking about the turf being crazy, but Joe Judge said he walked on it himself. Joe Judge was talking about his football days when he was talking about Saquon's injury today. I was like, bro, you wildin'. He was saying he's that great football and all this stuff, but when he was running on turf and all this junk. But, I mean, you got to chalk up to the preseason, man. I mean, I think that's number one. And then just, the lingering COVID thing, I'm sure that has had players not with their normal regiment, their normal workout, people not being able to have access to the facility early as they wanted to, mini camp. I mean, there was just so many things. Like, I remember when in Eli's last year, he would work out with wide receivers. He even worked out with Victor Cruz, who wasn't even on the team in the offseason. And you probably didn't get a lot of that either. You probably had a lot of quarterbacks not getting a lot of time to throw with their wide receivers. I mean... Also, offensive line gelling. Preseason is a good time to be able to bring in second-team players to play with first-team offensive line and defensive line. Facts. And we didn't get to see any of that this year. Everyone's getting thrusted into these games full speed. You got the running backs trying to, bounce back and have seasons, especially in New York, have a good season and whatnot. So they're probably running extra hard, kind of like I used to talk about with Darius Geis. I don't know if y'all remember them days where I was saying Darius Geis runs a little bit too hard. Mm-hmm. He's going to get hurt doing that. He ended up getting hurt twice. So I'd have to chalk it up, number one, to preseason, two, not having that time to really, build that chemistry between players, and also second-team guys not getting no reps with the first team in preseason games and letting these hog mollies up front slam helmets.
Your favorite word, the Beard. You got anything to say about that, man?
I mean, look, it's football. Right. So I think there's definitely a little something to do with preseason. I mean, obviously we'd be naive to think otherwise. But that being said, I mean, this happens. It's crazy that all happened in one Sunday. I mean, I can remember some times where there have been a couple of star players going out on the same weekend, particularly quarterbacks. But this was just an anomaly. Like, it's kind of crazy. And I mean, the 49ers, like, for them, that was, I mean, they lost both their DNs, their running back, and their quarterback all in the same game. Like, that's pretty intense. Right? They still won. I mean, they were playing the Jets.
They lost their three most important players.
Yeah,
they lost their three most important players.
I know for the Giants, and obviously as a fan, most fans never wish injury upon another player, just because, I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I would never wish injury upon another player because I'm a big believer in karma, first of all. Second of all, it's just, that's messed up, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's for the Giants, it presents an opportunity in this upcoming, game against the Giants to really, take a stand, because Jimmy G might play. He's a high.
They're saying he might play.
They're saying he might play. Like, it's an ankle sprain. But they'd be weird when it comes to ankle sprains, because I remember with Michael Thomas, like, he was like, "Oh, I'm good," and the next thing you know, it's like, "Oh, he's gonna be out for several weeks," and it's just like, man, it's pretty crucial. But I don't think the turf had anything to do with it. I think that Kyle Shanahan just, when something like that happens and you lose those players, and in the heat of the moment of the game, I mean, like, most of us have played athletics at some point. We've been in this high level of competition. You know how it is when after a game, like, you got that blood going. You just all jacked up. Oh, yeah. So like, I just think it was a little bit of a heat of the moment thing for him to put the blame on the field. But we're gonna see if the trend continues. Hopefully it doesn't, and these players can stay healthy, because it really changes the game. That's for certain. Everybody has to deal with injuries. So I always have hated it when people have used injuries as an excuse, because this is the nature of the game. People are going to get hurt. That's in any sort of sport. So like, that's why I always preach depth. Like, it's important as a team to have depth. And it's important coaching to have your players prepared for that situation. I mean, you saw it with Justin Herbert. The kid probably took if he was in Washington and Jay Gruden was the coach, he probably would have taken no snaps during the week. You know what I'm saying?
Herbert looks like he's like 13 years old. That kid had so much acne, and then steps in the game and he's balling like a grown man.
He had 5 minutes notice. He had 5 minutes notice. But what the hell is Anthony Lynn thinking? I heard that he's thinking about going back to Tyrod Taylor. How could you do that after a game like that?
I think that's a politically correct thing to say, where it's just
we'll go
like,
back to the starter?
You go back to the start. I think that's just a politically correct thing to say.
But what's worse, the Beard, being politically correct and then like reneging when it comes to game time, be like, I'm just kidding, Tyrod. We're going with the rookies. Like, tell him right now.
I mean, I want to know right now. At least he's a man of his word. Like, if he puts Tyrod in and they're obviously not performing, then they're gonna have to pull him and put Herbert in, and at least Herbert's gonna be ready. I mean, that kid's got some zing on his.
He could have said that too, just protecting their game plan, because like with Herbert, I'm sure they don't have as many packages as they do with Tyrod Taylor. They probably developed the whole offense through Tyrod, and if you do go to Herbert, who might be the better thrower right now, might even give you a better chance to win the game, your playbook will probably be a lot more limited, going with Herbert over Tyrod Taylor. So I'd say you give Tyrod, and you got lucky and snuck out with a win week 1 with only 1 touchdown on the board. You sitting at 1-1 now, right? I think you can afford to go with Tyrod for at least a couple more games, and then you bring in the young kid in case he's slumming.
That's a really good point, though, about the playbook, because you're right. They're different quarterbacks completely, and Anthony Lynn is not an established head coach. He needs wins to go ahead and secure his job status. So if he's got a huge playbook with Tyrod that shrinks down with the rookie, then you got to go back to Tyrod if he's healthy from that rib injection or whatever the weird thing. That was a weird story.
Same thing happened when he was with the Browns. I think it was week 3 instead of 2. He got hurt. Mayfield came in, took the job.
That was it.
Oh, it happens to him everywhere.
That did happen to him.
It happened to him in Buffalo too, didn't it?
I like Tyrod Taylor. That's a shame.
They tried it in Buffalo with Nate Peterson. Remember, he came in and threw like 4 interceptions in the first half, and they were like, "Oh, can't do that." And then Tyrod ended up getting hurt. After that, Tyrod got hurt.
Yeah.
But I like Herbert. I think the kid looks good. He reminds me of Josh Allen a little bit. I can't judge his running like Josh Allen, but as far as how he looks in the pocket, he's a big, statured
He
quarterback.
looks like a quarterback.
He looks like a quarterback for
I
sure.
never got the hate for him. I heard it from so many people after the draft. They're like, "Oh, he doesn't look good on film." I look at the guy; he's 6'5". He's mobile. He's not Josh Allen mobile, but he's definitely mobile. He's got a good arm. He's clearly intelligent. I think the guy was working on his doctorate degree. He went to a pretty major program. I never got the hate for him. I think he's got all the tools. It's just a matter of putting it all
Where's
together.
Herbert from? Is he
Oregon.
from Oregon? Yeah,
Oregon,
that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
I invested in him heavily in sports cards, so I have a lot of Justin Herbert rookie cards right now. I'm sitting on, waiting for the kid to explode.
Hey, let me ask y'all
only 'cause
something.
all those Mariota cards didn't pan out for you. Right?
Oh man, those really didn't pan out. Man,
Go ahead,
Mariota was my
Authentic.
guy too. I was gonna say, what did y'all think about instead of maybe bringing in Devonta Freeman with New York, looking at Lamar Miller?
Yeah, a couple of my subscribers brought up Lamar Miller. I wouldn't have been against it. He's always been a pretty he's kind of on par with Freeman. Freeman had probably a better peak when he was at his best. Freeman was probably a top 5, 6, 7 running back in the league. But yeah, I would have been okay with Miller. He's a serviceable back. I wouldn't have been against that at all.
I like him too. I think in this sort of situation, you need there's only a few running backs out there. You know what I'm saying? Let's be realistic. I mean, you're either going to go one of two routes. You're going to go with a veteran that is, teamless, or you're going to go with some sort of unsigned, undrafted rookie who maybe was either on your practice squad, on somebody else's practice squad.
Someone on our practice squad got promoted.
Somebody you have fresh tape on, that's basically what you're looking at. But it's interesting because I know you had talked about it earlier. Is the whole Wayne Gallman situation? Like I don't really know why he's not fitting in with this team at all right now.
Yeah. I mean, well, with Saquon Barkley in the lineup, they probably felt like they didn't want to use 3 backs, but now you're going to be forced to. I do think we're going to see a heavy dosage of Wayne Gallman this upcoming week, and hopefully he's active, because if they don't want to keep 3 running backs active to have some players on the defensive side of the ball, then one of those guys ain't going to be active. Maybe Devonta Freeman comes in and he's not active week 1. I don't know.
Unpopular opinion. Go ahead.
Even
Entertainah.
if Freeman's active, I think he gets 4 carries first week.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
So the owner for the Giants, Mara, he came out before the season. He said, "I'm not looking at wins and losses this year," which is it's a diplomatic thing to say, but it's true. This team's not going to the Super Bowl, the New York Giants. He's looking at progression. He said he wants to see the team that leaves the field after week 17 is better than the team that took the field in week 1. With that being said, if I was the Giants, I would go find the best pass protecting running back out there, because I want to see Daniel Jones with a running back who can actually give him that 6th body up front to stop the blitz and see what he can really do. The fumbles have been a problem. He's under pressure a lot. Why not just give this guy as clean a pocket as possible for the last 14 games and really see what he can do?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
The guy's got the opposing defense's first 2 weeks have recorded 56 pressures. I think it's by far the most in the league. He's been sacked 7 times. It's a major problem. And next year in the draft, I'm not saying in the first, second, third round, but I do think they need to draft another back as well. I definitely think they need another young back there. But yeah, I agree. That's definitely been a major problem. And I thought that was a fair criticism by Tiki with Barkley. And I think it's something that Saquon will work on when he gets back. But yeah, they definitely need better pass protection, not just from the line, but from the running backs and the tight ends. You got to give Daniel Jones a fair chance back there.
So let me ask you guys this really quick, because speaking about sacks and pressure and stuff like that, sometimes I think a little bit. I think about Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins a lot in parallels, okay? And I think, the same sort of situation happens a lot with Haskins. So my question is how much of the sacks are on Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins as opposed to the offensive line? Because I know that, for certain people who might not necessarily look at the details of a game, they might, automatically sack offensive line. And I know that is definitely the case in a lot of instances. But at the same time, I know that watching, the Dwayne Haskins in this last game, there was a couple of times where he almost caused the sack because of the way that he approached moving in the pocket. Like he basically was running into the pressure as opposed to running away from the pressure, throwing the ball away. So how much of that do you see to something that Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins need to improve on as opposed to the offensive line?
It's a great question. And that's really something that's kind of hard to judge. You kind of got to look at game film for that and, break it down play by play. But, yeah, I mean, that I said it last year. I mean, you look at the New York Giants offensive line the first 2 weeks last year when Eli Manning was behind center, the offensive line was playing really well. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, obviously Eli Manning is a guy that knows how to read defenses better than a guy that's wet behind the ears that's never played. So I think you're going to see that when you bring in a young quarterback, whether it's Haskins, whether it's Jones, even more so Haskins. The guy only had 13 starts in college, played at Ohio State. So even more so for him. But, yeah, I think there's times now with the new system that the Giants have brought in with Garrett, it calls for deeper balls down the field. We haven't been able to do it because we haven't been able to block that long. Because in fairness to Jones, they are getting pressure. I mean, they're getting there within 2.5 seconds pretty much every time. So Jones is having to get that ball out fast. But there's times, I mean, the fumble was definitely on him. He held the ball way too long. He didn't protect it properly. So there's definitely instances from within the game that you could put it on Jones if you're being fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with both quarterbacks, they have trouble seeing the blind side pressure, and that's where the fumbles are coming in. I think with Daniel Jones, though, you're seeing a little bit more like a bit of like escapability to get out of the pocket when things break down. You saw it on the 19-play drive against the Steelers. We had 2 fourth downs where he just like sneaks out. You're just like, how's he even making it out the pocket? Gets a little run. But then I'm also seeing that from Haskins a little bit too. When Haskins took off in week 1, he was flying. Them wheels was moving. He got like 15 yards on that scramble. But I think with both of them, they're going to have to just learn to get rid of the ball quicker. And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Tim, like just setting up an offense for these two young quarterbacks where they're getting rid of the ball faster. It's kind of like the Eli Manning thing that we were doing with him with Ben McAdoo. It was like we were passing to kind of set up running. We were like doing quick slants, quick out routes, being able to read what's going on quickly at the line, make a decision, 3-step drop, let the ball go. For Dwayne Haskins, from what I've seen, that's when he looks at his best. When I scouted both of these guys before the draft, because I don't watch a lot of college football like I was saying. When I scouted both of them, Dwayne Haskins, the throws that go across his face, across the middle, he's great at those throws. But it's when he's got to throw deep down outside of the hash marks is where he has trouble, 10 yards down the field plus. I love his deep ball. I think he can throw that 40, 50-yard bomb really nice. He never underthrows them. That's what I like about Dwayne Haskins. He always either overthrows it or is right on target to your boy, Scary Terry. Daniel Jones needs a little bit more work, I feel like, on the deep passes, but he does have great touch. And I think with Daniel Jones, it's just the pressure. The pressure, he's thinking about it just like how they used to say, what's my man, Darnold was seeing ghosts. It's kind of like that, He's feeling that pressure, and he's also feeling pressure to not fumble the ball. So I know that's lingering in the back of his mind. So they got to find a way to just get Daniel Jones to be able to just take care of this football. I think when he gets the confidence, along with the confidence will come more leadership, and he'll be able to just dictate the flow of this offense a little bit better. When he gets the playbook a little bit more under his wings and he's more in control, I think we're going to see a lot better of Daniel Jones. And I think that maturation will happen before we see it with Dwayne Haskins. But Dwayne Haskins might see a more successful team because on the defensive side of the ball, that front four is just scary.
Oh, they're good.
That's a good assessment all the way around, Awthentik. I see what you're saying. I hate to say it, even being a Washington fan, but I'm higher on the Daniel Jones train than I am on the Haskins train. Haskins has a big accuracy problem. If you're not an accurate quarterback, you have to have other assets that can get you out of that, a la Josh Allen, a la Lamar Jackson. Those guys are both young quarterbacks. They're not very accurate, but they both can move with the football. I mean, Josh Allen's athletic. He runs. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's a living video game. So Haskins doesn't really offer that. He can move out of the pocket somewhat, but he's not a guy that's going to break off big runs and be an actual threat where you got to worry about him. So if his accuracy doesn't improve, I'm not that high on Haskins right now. I hate to say it. It sounds bad coming out. We got to talk
what I
about.
also noticed about Dwayne Haskins real quickly before we segue? Yeah. When he makes the decision, he's set on that decision. He drops back, and if he says in his mind the pressure's coming and it's time to run, he just takes off. He's not looking down the field when he's scrambling. He's making that decision and just going with that because I think the speed of the game is a little bit faster than it was for him in college. So he's not able to just make those plays off just his athleticism and just like off his instinct. He's a bit of a slower reactor, and when he reacts, he just goes with that decision. So I noticed when he is getting sacked a lot of time, he's not looking down the field.
Hopefully the speed of the game, like Entertainah mentioned, you mentioned it, hopefully he catches up because you can't replicate that in any situation in college. The speed of these guys, I mean, the D tackles in the NFL are faster than the D ends in college. So
right.
Hopefully with games up, Haskins will get better and Daniel Jones as well when it comes to sensing pressure. We're going to touch on
I got faith in both.
Okay. I like your faith. I'm going to roll with your optimism. We're going to touch on game around the league. Seattle versus New England. This was an matchup. Russell Wilson versus Cam Newton. Cam Newton and the Patriots. This is a totally different Patriots team than we've ever seen before. He is the offense. Edelman's 34 years old, running deep routes. They don't really got any running backs going on. It is Cam Newton show all day long. But he looks like he's gotten better as a quarterback since last time I saw him. He's way more accurate than I've ever seen. He's more decisive. He's still got the physicality to make the run game work. They ran it in at the end, tried to score a game-winning touchdown. He was stopped at the 1.5 yard line. The Patriots fell to the Seahawks. It was 35-30. Russell Wilson, this is Awthentic's guy. He's got 9 passing touchdowns on the year, and he only has 11 completions. This
oh my God.
Crazy.
That's
Look,
ridiculous.
he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
It always
He's the
starts
MVP.
off like this though. Week 1,
It does.
week 2. You know, he in the beginning, first 8 games, my man is always on fire. But then you always got to worry about Lamar Jackson here, and you always got to worry about Patrick Mahomes now. You know, then you got Aaron Rodgers on fire right now.
Aaron Rodgers
you know?
looks like Aaron Rodgers from 4 years ago.
He does, man. Cam Newton out here, he's balling too. You know,
Cam Newton leads the league in rushing touchdowns right now.
That's crazy.
Yo, I saw a lot of people were upset about the call from Belichick at the end where they pretty much ran the same play to Cam again on the goal line. I'm totally for that play. I don't know if y'all were watching the way
100%.
they motioned that fullback or whatever he is, that tight end or fullback, and they're just reading it at the line. And they're just picking a side. I think the play's cool. And then the backside guard would pull to the side that Cam was going to. I thought the call was great. Cam needs to get in, man. I wanted to see Superman Cam fly over the top or something, you know, just get in. I'm rooting for Cam. I really want to see a bounce-back season from him. Yeah. First 2 weeks, he looked incredible, man. But, yo, when you go up against a guy like Russell Wilson, Russell Wilson was dropping those little lollipop 45-yard bombs. Them things go up so high in the air, and then they just fall right into DK Metcalf's hands. It's amazing to see Russell Wilson play, man. Definitely an MVP front runner right now, and you know how I feel about Russell. I don't got to tell you too much. You know,
DK Metcalf.
I can't predict the future. You see what I did right there? But Russell Wilson, he's definitely going to be in the MVP talks at the end of the season.
DK Metcalf is a problem, and I know Awthentic and I both wanted him that year when he came out, and it's crazy because he fell, right? The same way sort of like McLaurin. And you could see both of them are you know, they're different in stature, but the way that they can dominate against perennial competition is crazy. Like McLaurin was against Peterson, and then DK Metcalf was all over Stephon Gilmore in that game. He was giving him
corner from
problems.
last year too, man. He was cooking them.
He won defensive player of the year last year. Am I right?
So
Stephon Gilmore,
Yeah,
I believe,
he did.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like
he's no James Bradbury.
I see what you did there.
But it's crazy. Like, I mean, that game was just it was a good game. 2 great coaches. You know, like I don't care what anybody has to say about Bill Belichick. You know, you might not like the guy, but he's obviously a good coach. Pete Carroll too. I've always been a Pete Carroll fan since his second go about in the
Didn't Bill
NFL.
Belichick take Pete Carroll's job in New England?
I think so.
100% correct.
Yeah. Yes, he did. Yep.
That's crazy. You like let go one legend, you bring in another legend. Hey, come on.
But it's going to be interesting to see that AFC West before Bloody Sunday, because San Francisco is a different team right now.
Yeah.
But before then, I would have said the AFC West is the best team in football. I mean, best division in football.
NFC?
Yeah,
I think you meant NFC West, yeah.
I got you.
Did I say AFC West? AFC West ain't bad neither.
People were saying that in the beginning of the year.
The Las Vegas Raiders. And then, look, I was high on the Broncos, and then Drew Lock going to go get hurt on me. You know what I'm saying? But, like, the AFC
Sutton.
West, there's some good division teams this year.
I thought that the NFC South was going to compete with them for the best division in football.
Carolina looks bad.
Yeah, but Carolina's not looking great. Yeah, and Tampa Bay kind of came out like, just
also underwhelming.
I'll tell you what, though, in terms of the last play, I completely agree. I thought it was the right call. They just got out muscled at the line of scrimmage. You just saw the defensive line just completely blow up the New England offensive line. But overall, Cam Newton, I was so excited to see Cam Newton this year in that offense with Bill Belichick, because I've always been a Belichick guy. I know a lot of people say Brady. I've always thought Belichick was much more important than Brady.
Same.
And I always wanted to see Belichick with another talented quarterback. I thought we were going to get robbed of that this year. And then when he got Newton, then I said to myself, now we're going to really get the test. Now, of course, New England lost so many pieces on defense. So who knows? But I do think they're going to compete. Newton has looked unbelievable in this scheme. And I'm excited about this New England football team this year. I think they're going to compete. I think they're going to make the playoffs. As far as Russell Wilson goes, the guy threw 5 touchdowns to 5 different receivers. The guy's insane, man. The guy is a machine. He might throw the best deep ball in football, which you wouldn't have, a couple of years ago, you wouldn't have never thought that. You would have thought a big arm guy like Matt Stafford or Aaron Rodgers. But when you watch Russell Wilson play, like you were saying, the way he lobs that ball up and it just falls right in his. It's beautiful. He's incredible. He is so good. Russell Wilson, such a smart quarterback, and even though Mahomes is probably more talented, I think Russell Wilson is the MVP almost every year, because when you look at what he has on that team in terms of a 53-man roster, and his coach doesn't compare to Andy Reid. Andy Reid to me is the smartest offensive mind, I think, since I've been watching football. And the weapons that Mahomes has pales in comparison to that.
Ridiculous
Russell
Wilson.
weapons. To me, Russell Wilson is the most valuable player almost every year, the way he's able to carry that team, because I look at the Seahawks with Wilson, they're like an 11-win team. Without him, they're like a 4-win team. I mean, he is that good. I think the Chiefs with Reid, you saw it with Alex Smith. They still won 11, 12 games. I still think they'd find a way to win 10 games and make the playoffs, even if Mahomes went down, if they had a decent backup. With Wilson, they're like a 3-win team without him.
That's a really interesting point, and that kind of harkens back to what I was saying earlier. When Wilson was a rookie, they had that phenomenal defense because they weren't paying him anything. They gave him the contract extension, and he's still managing to do what he did before. That shows Russell Wilson's a quarterback that elevates everybody around him. That's the one people are looking for when it comes to starting a franchise. Quick commercial break. Entertainah, you hanging out with us for trivia?
I'm doing it. Let's do it.
Man, we'll be back in just 5 seconds. Hang tight, everybody, for some trivia. Alrighty, it's everybody's favorite time of the week. We got a third person in here this week, so this is going to be interesting to see how the scores break down. It is Awthentik and The Beard presenting Trivia Time. All right. Entertainah, I don't know if you've watched this segment before. I ask very ambiguous football questions. We go around in a random order. People answer them. We're normally incorrect. It's always a good time, though. Listen in. We're going to kick it all the way around for everybody's answers, and then I'll tell you the correct one, and I'll do some point system that makes absolutely no sense. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Hey, Scotty, let's get one question for the chat. I got a prize I can give away this week.
Oh, okay. Let me minimize my screen so I can see the chat. Here we are. So we're going to start with that one, Awthentik, or do you want to start with you guys?
Let's start with us, and we'll go to that one at the end.
All right. Sounds good. I got 3 questions then for you guys. Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, a.k.a., is one of 3 quarterbacks in the last 25 seasons with at least 25 passing touchdowns and 25 giveaways over their first career 16 games. Excuse me, their first 16 career games. He's one of 3 quarterbacks. I want you to name the other 2.
Any order? We just going who can get it first?
No, we're going around. You guys are both going to give me 2 answers each, and if anybody's right.
First 16 games?
Yeah, Entertainah, we can start with you.
All right, I'm gonna guess one here. I know he threw a ton of picks in his rookie year. I don't know if he got the 25 touchdowns. I'll go with Peyton Manning.
Do you have a second answer for me?
Second answer, I will go with Baker Mayfield.
Ooh.
Awthentik, do you have an answer?
You said giveaways, right?
Correct, which is
so
fumbles
we're
and interceptions.
Fumbles as well. Dang. Yeah, I like Jameis Winston, as somebody said. I'm going to go with Jameis Winston, but that might not have happened early on like that. And let's go with the older Carr brother. Is that David Carr?
That would be David Carr.
I know that ain't the answer the way you just looked up in the sky.
You're sharp. You're really sharp,
Awthentik. It's all
You're
good.
really sharp, bro. Because looking up means what? I don't know the answer, right? And
exactly.
I would know it. You can be an interrogator for the CIA. The Beard, Do you have two quarterbacks to give me for this answer?
So I was going to go with Peyton Manning and Jameis Winston.
Oh, man. You know who I want? Might be Troy Aikman.
Your answers have already been submitted. You are not eligible for the answer. With that being said, the Beard and Entertainah split the points. It is Peyton Manning. The second quarterback is Matthew Stafford.
Wow.
Oh.
So also a positive take from this, though. Both those guys, they got contract extensions. They are legitimate starting quarterbacks. One's a Hall of Famer. So all Daniel Jones fans who are upset about the turnovers.
It's a lock. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
He's going to the Hall of Fame. Baby.
I like
Give it up. All right. The Beard and Entertainah are tied at 1. Awthentik, you're in last place with 0. This is a wild one. On the career NFL leading rushing list, all-time career rushing list, the top 5 names in order are Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Frank Gore, Barry Sanders, and Adrian Peterson. Remember those names. Of those 5 players, only Frank Gore has never won an individual rushing title in one season. One of those other 5 players has only won once. Name that player of those 4.
Okay.
So we're going with Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, and Adrian Peterson. One of those guys have only won one individual rushing title. Awthentik, we're starting with you.
I'll go Walter Payton.
Entertainah talking sports.
All right, so what the 4 running backs are Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders,
and AP.
and AP. I'm almost positive AP's won more than one. I think Barry's won more than one, and I think I'm going to go with the same. I'm going to go with Walter Payton.
The Beard, your answer, please.
I'm going to go with Barry Sanders because I think Emmitt Smith won most of them during that time. So I'm going to go with Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith both won 4 individual rushing titles. They dominated the 90s. Adrian Peterson has won 3 individual rushing titles. Walter Payton, sweetness,
Yeah.
only 1. Good answer. You guys.
Is that
Entertainah
because of
Awthentik.
Eric Dickerson?
That's a good question. I was going to do the research, and I got busy at work, so I didn't know. I wanted to look that up as well. Who was taking those titles in the 70s?
Because, see, that's what I was thinking. I was like, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders,
O.J.
same
Simpson.
time
Did you say
period?
O.J. Simpson? He might have been, right?
Oh, OJ. Okay, yeah, he's probably up there.
OJ.
That's a good one right there.
I'm going to look into that when we go off air. I got to see that.
We'll bring that up next week. Okay, third question for you guys. Right now, Entertainah's on top. We need a answer from Awthentik to tie it up. This one's outrageous. Has nothing to do with football, really. Which Motown singer tried out for the Detroit Lions in 1970? You guys, hey, let's do this. You guys would you like multiple
No
choice?
multiple. No multiple.
No multiple? One of the multiple choice answers was Stevie
Steve's
Wonder.
the musician. Authentic's the
So-
musician. This is a little bit unfair.
Not really. The way my raw paper's been set up lately.
All right,
I'm
let's do
going to
multiple.
go Motown singer. Nah, bro. Give me that multiple choice, cuz.
A, Lionel Richie. B, Marvin Gaye. C, Smokey Robinson. Or D, this is the throwaway answer, Stevie Wonder. Not Stevie Wonder. Not the answer.
Hey, yo. Stevie Wonder at quarterback, right? I mean, I got to go Marvin Gaye with, my interrogation skills on you, Scotty. I got to go Marvin Gaye.
Entertainah, do you have an answer?
What now? It's Smokey Robinson, Marvin Gaye. Who was the other one other than Stevie Wonder?
Lionel Richie. Formerly of the Commodores.
I have
Could you
no
imagine
idea.
Smokey Robinson playing football?
I got to go Marvin Gaye also. I'll go Marvin Gaye.
Smart. You're already winning, Entertainah, so you can't lose if you go with Authentic's answer. That's smart. Tim, the Beard.
Smokey!
Smokey Robinson with those eyes.
I'm going to go with Smokey because I just think Smokey seemed like the type of dude who might have played wide receiver.
best.
We got to give the props. Entertainah's been on the show one time. He is undefeated, 1-0 champion. The answer is Marvin Gaye, who bulked up 30 pounds, trained with future Hall of Fame tight end Charlie Sanders. He didn't make the team, but he stayed close with players in the team, and some of them actually did background singing on his classic hit, What's Going On? Believe it or not.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy, bro.
Authentic. We have something to give away for the fans for a trivia question, you said?
Yes, hang tight.
This is elevator music, not trivia.
All right.
Yeah, hit the thumbs up if you love the trivia game music.
So I'm hoping that it'll be a Redskins fan, but courtesy of my homie Lalo from High Definition Society, we got a High Definition Society t-shirt in the packaging, Redskins colors right here. And for the secondary fools, maybe Jets vibes. I don't know, maybe something like that. So we'll let it be your choice if you win. If you win and you're not a Redskins fan, but maybe you want the burgundy. I'm sorry, Washington football team. Maybe you want the burgundy. But we also got the Jets vibes too in the package, shipped right to your front door. Let's get it going.
What's up, Ben Noggle? What's up, Rod, man? It's good to see people in the chat. I'm glad we're building a little community here, man. You guys are tuning in.
Bro.
You're making us what we are. This question is for the chat. I'm going to ask it. As soon as you know it, or you Google it, or whatever you do, type your answer in. The Beard is going to be monitoring the timestamp. He will know who's first. Authentic already promised you guys some dope high-definition T-shirts for the winner. Let's get to it. In 2013, which AFC starting quarterback broke a record after throwing a pick six in 4 consecutive games?
Wow.
One more time. In 2013, which AFC quarterback broke a record when he threw a pick six, which is an interception return for a touchdown, in 4 consecutive games? I like your answer, Nick the Wick. That's incorrect. It is not Mark Sanchez. Sounds about right. Oh, we got a winner.
Quick.
We got a winner. Benjamin Noggle out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Matt Schaub is the correct answer.
Ooh, that's like, man, that's a name that's in the tuck. I ain't heard about Matt Schaub in a grip.
Wait, so Matt Schaub is still a backup quarterback right now?
He
is.
The only
Is
reason
he?
I know
Yeah.
that, I read an article today that Cam Newton was getting paid less than Matt Schaub. That was an article I read, so I know he's
Wow.
Mark Sanchez actually had 4 consecutive butt fumbles, not the interceptions. for victory.
That's next week question, Entertainah. You're jumping the gun on me, man. All right.
I take it we're sending
Congratulations.
Noggle the Washington football team colors.
It's going out to Utah. That's a long way to go. I don't know what the shipping cost is going to look like on that.
Don't worry, I got the shipping
The
hook.
The way Tim's shipping is set up, we got a bargain. So
That's all
we're
we're
going to be all
talking
right.
Scotty
All
Boomz
right,
got some love in the chat for Scotty Boomz.
Oh, yeah?
Hey, Scott, you look good.
Who's that?
Anna Park, man. Yo, DMs, Anna. DMs, Anna. DMs, babe.
Park. What's up, girl? All right, we're going to get to the next. Are we taking a commercial? No commercial break. Let's get into the Falcons and Cowboys matchup. This game is outrageous. The only NFC East team to pull a W this weekend was the Dallas Cowboys. This game was absolutely insane. Nobody hates winning more than the Atlanta Falcons. Nobody. Absolutely not. Falcons kicker Young Ho Koo made a 32-yard field goal with 8 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, putting the Falcons up 39-24. Game over, right? Not so fast. In the next 8 minutes, for the last 8 minutes of the game, Dallas's offense ran 25 plays, accumulated 192 yards of offense, scored 16 points, and snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, completing the incredible comeback. The Beard, the big play everyone's talking about, successful onside kick from the Cowboys. I don't know if you can call it successful kick by them or just a complete and utter failure of Atlanta's hands team. What'd you think about the game? How'd you like the Cowboys, and what about that play?
Okay, well, first of all, I wouldn't necessarily call it as much of a successful onside kick as I would an unsuccessful hands team recovery. I mean, look, okay, what do they call it? They call it the watermelon
They
kick?
called it the watermelon.
Kind of like my color scheme tonight, the watermelon kick. All right, look, if anybody could kick like that from, like, because onside kicks are hard. You know what I'm saying?
We were talking about that last week. I was telling you, I was like, yo, they got to find a way to innovate the onside kick because they've been kicking it the same way for years, man.
But that is all on the Atlanta Falcons hands team. I mean, they're all just like, it's going to go 10 yards? I don't know.
It looked like a punt.
Is it
It
going to
looked
go
like
10
a
yards?
punt, and they were about to down punt.
I don't know. Oh, it's 10 yards. What do we do? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how, like, if I was describing how that went down, that's exactly how I would have described it. Like, I'm just sitting here. My mind was blown, first of all, because their win probability, I believe, got down to as low as either 2 or 1%.
2%.
And I'm just like, first of all, the way that the whole game started, like I'm in the couch with Awthentik. I'm like, man, if the Washington football team could pull this off, everybody else might be 0-2 because they were down 20-0. The Eagles was down like 21-0.
Yeah, it was ugly.
and the Giants was down. I'm just like, man, this might be all right for the Washington football team. But then it's just like, and let me tell you, the craziest part about that game was the Falcons are the first team in NFL history to score 39 points with 0 turnovers and lose.
Dang.
First
Really?
time ever.
Wow.
I think it's like 240-0 before that game. Like, it's just like anything. I remember that Super Bowl. We was watching it at Scotty Boomz house, and I had left because I wasn't feeling well that night. I made so much money betting on the Patriots at halftime to overcome that lead. In-game bet. I mean, that was crazy. But it's just like, you kind of, with the offense that Atlanta has, right? This is there's a couple of problems here. If 440 is what it was, not 240, 440.
39,
crazy.
no turnover. Wow.
Look, Monique was quiet the whole time until she heard Cowboys.
You know who I got a text from right away when they came back? I'm like, man, Monique ain't trying to hear that.
The Falcons, they just can't run. Like, and I don't necessarily think that it's on the running back. I don't know if they just don't want to call running plays, but it's like
this is a major collapse.
It is
man.
a major collapse. But
39 points, like you said, bro. To come out with a loss here, I think that the biggest problem in this game was that major drop from Julio Jones, 50-yard bomb, which could have completely sealed that game away. I think it was a flea flicker. Even it was some kind of like trick-looking play. I didn't catch the snap, but Julio Jones leaves the game 2 catches, 24 yards. Man, your team puts up 39 points. Man, 39 points. Come on, you got to be more involved in this game plan. You knew coming into this game your defense was straight poop emoji. You knew it. You knew it. So you got to come out here and put these points up on the board. When it's time to make catches and you a premier wide receiver like Julio Jones is, you got to make those plays. And this Atlanta defense, man, they let me down. I was hoping for this 0-4 Cowboys start. Now I'm looking like a damn fool because the Giants are only team 0-2 for real.
Eagles are 0-2.
Eagles are,
Yeah.
Get them out of here, man. The Eagles lost to the Washington football team week 1. They're ruled out. But I just think, man, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb on the other side of the ball, they showed you what wide receivers do. When they got down, Dak Prescott never quit. This looked like one of those games where Dak Prescott, gets all them yards where it's like, what do they call it? Garbage time.
Garbage time.
Yeah,
That's right.
It looked like that, but then it's like the score is getting lower. The deficit is getting lower. They're down 9. And then they kick that onside kick. You can tell that the coach said something to the hands team about it not going 10 yards because it wasn't like just one player was looking at the ball. First off, nobody went up to go block. Normally on onside kicks these days in the NFL, you see the frontline guys they don't even try to get the ball. They just run up and try to make the block. Instead, you got 6 guys huddled around the football looking like they're waiting for the ball to stop rolling. And it's a
It looked
punt.
like a touchdown celebration.
It looked
dance.
like a punt that was getting down near the 1. It's like, what are y'all doing, man?
You've seen it before, though, on those short onside kicks when they kind of spin it like that. A lot of times those balls don't make it 10 yards, and the tendency of the hands team is to kind of stand around like a campfire and not do anything with it and let it die. So that's all I can say. There's no way they don't know the rules.
If you on that front line, Scotty, and you touch that ball before it goes 10 yards and it bounces off you and the other team gets the ball, they're going to be talking about you at the end of the game.
You're cut.
That's why they were so hesitant to touch the ball before 10 yards. This isn't like the one Painter was talking about with Odell where he got the alligator arms.
Oh, the alligator arms, yeah, against the Bears.
This is like the ball's rolling very slow. And if you had to stop that play mid-play and pause it and bet your money on if that ball was going to go 10 yards, nobody would have put money up that ball was going to go 10 yards.
No way.
It was almost like a knuckleball, man. Who was the knuckleball pitcher back in the day?
Tim
Wakefield. Tim Wakefield.
That was some Tim Wakefield vibes right there because it started one way and then it just completely cut back. You could tell he'd been practicing that. I got to commend that kicker because he's innovating the way that you take an onside kick, and I think we're going to see a lot more kickers in this league try to copy that, maybe try to find a way. And lastly, the one thing that I can't stand on an onside kick is when they try to like pooch it up in the sky and it goes like 25 yards. The guy back there just catches it. You're like,
I
what the
hate
hell
that
y'all
one
doing,
too.
man? So it was good to see a kicker do that. Unfortunately, it was against the Falcons, who I picked to win in this game. I picked it to be a blowout too. And I had to hear a bunch of garbage from my brother the next day. Like, what happened in the game? He'd be trying to act oblivious like he's not watching these games. So, man, Dallas Cowboys, I hope this isn't the turning point for y'all season that'll take y'all and just take y'all into the playoffs. I hope it's not that.
Their defense has got major issues.
They do, but, man, when you could come back and put up 39 points on the board, I don't care who the defense is, as long as it's in the NFL, man, that's a task, bro. And Dak Prescott, kudos, bro. That was a great comeback.
Well, this is kind of my question for Entertainah right now. So I don't know if you were on the bandwagon that Jason Garrett was never going to be the guy to lead Dallas to the promised land. They bring in Mike McCarthy. If Dallas doesn't come back and win this football game, we're not talking about the onside kick. We're talking about Mike McCarthy doing the 2 fake punts on his own side of the field that neither of them worked out. I mean, that would have been the lead story. Mike McCarthy, everyone would have been questioning this leadership. Entertainah, I'm assuming you're a McCarthy fan. He's a good coach. Do you think he's the guy to take Dallas to the promised land?
I'm honestly not a McCarthy fan. I think he's an okay coach, but when the Giants were doing their coaching search, I wanted nothing to do with him.
Yeah, I remember that.
I would much preferred Rivera, the guy that you guys got. I was not. I think McCarthy benefited greatly from having Aaron Rodgers, and I think it's almost like bad that how do you only win 1 Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers? Like, how does that happen? When I watch Aaron Rodgers play, it's like he has a cheat code. It's one of the biggest mysteries to me in NFL history that the guy hasn't won more than 1 Super Bowl. Now, I will say they do have an established team, and McCarthy can't be worse than Garrett was. So it could be the upgrade that they needed to go out there and compete and maybe win a couple of playoff games. But I'm going to tell you what right now, and the Cowboys found a way to win this game. Magic, whatever it was. They had 7 minutes less than the time of possession. They committed 3 turnovers. The Falcons committed 0. And somehow they win the football game. But there was big problems in Dallas. And maybe they start to right the ship. They're going to make the playoffs probably because our division sucks. But I don't see them competing with the upper echelon teams in the NFC. Their defense is bad. Their defense is really bad. They just went up against a team who has a worse defense. And I knew that this was going to be a shootout, but I'm buying into the Dallas offense. There's no doubt about it. But their defense, with Van Der Esch out, that secondary is a major question mark. I think teams are going to be able to put points on the board against them. And yeah, you'll be able to beat some teams in shootout games, but when you play the top teams, you're not beating Seattle. You're not beating Seattle. You're not beating the Saints, in my opinion, even though they lost last night. I don't see it. They'll be able to beat up on bad teams like they always do. They swept our 2 teams last year. That was 4 of their 8 wins. So I just don't see the Cowboys beating good teams with the team that they have. I don't believe in their defense at all.
Authentic, what are you feeling about that defense and the team overall? I mean, do you see McCarthy elevating the rest of this lineup again, or what?
I mean, I did. I was one of the people that did like Mike McCarthy in the offseason as a coach.
Those fake punts, though, what the
Those
hell?
fake punts were ridiculous. That Dallas came out of this game with a victory is just ridiculous. 5 fumbles, I think it was. 2 fake punts gone wrong, so those are turnover on downs right there.
Yeah.
It's miraculous they came up with the win here. I mean, Atlanta, just like somebody said in the chat, they don't want to win games. They just don't want to win games.
28-3 Super Bowl. That's all you got to talk about.
Right, and I want to blame it on the coaching, but it's like that Kyle Shanahan was over there back then. So now It's like you got a new coach over here and you got calling the plays. Same kind of thing. It's starting to make me think that personnel is a much more important thing than coaching. Although coaching is very important in the NFL, it's like when you look at these teams that have had the same personnel for a long time, and I think the Giants are a part of that problem as well, it's hard to win. And you see it now with the Giants. 3 coaches have gone in here and tried to win and can't win. So Falcons, maybe a similar thing. Yeah, you got Matt Ryan, who when he's on, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. And you got maybe the best wide receiver in football, Julio Jones. You got a slew of weapons at wide receiver. Ridley, you got the new kid, Gage. These guys each put up 100 in the first week, and you still struggling to win games. I mean, somebody got to do something. We either need to get a bunch of people on this front 4 on the defense to be able to put some pressure and not allow teams to put up points or something. But Atlanta is dismal. They've been a letdown since that Super Bowl, to be honest. I mean, Matt Ryan had pretty much an MVP season that year, and coming off that, they just look like garbage. They just keep blowing wins.
It's funny. These teams are very similarly built. The Beard, that's what. Go ahead and talk about this.
No, I was just going to say, Matt Ryan is number 2 in the league right now in passing yards, also right behind Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's nice when you have a terrible defense and good receivers because it means you get the ball a lot, you're losing a lot, and you have a lot of targets to throw to.
What Drew Brees used to do 3 years ago before they got the run game. He'd throw for 5,300 yards and they'd go 6 and 10.
Right. Just it did, it doesn't add up. If you don't have balance on the offensive side of the football, you'll look like the Falcons have the last 2 years since the Super Bowl, which is pathetic and underwhelming.
Yeah.
Last game. One more recap. That's it, fellas. Washington football team traveled to Arizona. Ugly game, man. Arizona won. It was 30-15, dropping the Washington football team to 1-1 in the young season. The chat, you guys mentioned it last week. We got to give you your props for that. Kyler Murray is the exact quarterback to be the front four like the Skins have. He was running all over the field. I'm saying it right now. This kid is going to win an MVP award someday.
Facts.
Unbelievable. In the pocket, he's accurate like Russell Wilson. He can also run like Lamar Jackson. When his accuracy gets a little bit better, because he missed about 2 or 3 throws, he could have had 600 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. As it was, he still had a huge game. 286 passing yards, 67 rushing, added 3 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground. Conversely, Washington struggled mightily to move the football on offense. Only 316 total yards, and as Awthentik likes to call it, a lot of that was in garbage time in the second half. Dwayne Haskins inspired zero confidence in me. He doesn't have pieces around him, which is a legitimate excuse, but at the same time, no eye test of mine is he passing. The things that a quarterback can improve upon without a team, footwork, accuracy, going through progressions, I do not see any improvement from the end of last year to the beginning of this year when it comes to Dwayne Haskins. The Beard, this game reinforced it to me. How did you see, what did you see about Washington that gave you a hope for this rebuild that we're going through?
Well, all right. Before we touch on Haskins, I would Troy Apke out there looking like Reed Doughty 2.0 for real. He's flat-footed. He's taking bad angles. Now that's a big problem for the Washington football team. I was hearing, all right, so Earl Thomas is out there. I'm just going to throw that name out there as a possibility of somebody that they might want to bring in, to work out. But he is one of those character guys, apparently. So, you kind of want to stay away from him. But Troy Apke is man, he's having a tough time back there. And you know what the crazy thing is? He's probably the worst player on our defense and played every single defensive snap of the game.
How bad was Sean Davis in training camp that we cut Sean Davis? I mean, this guy he's a starter for the Steelers just 2 years ago. They brought Minka in. He kind of got benched, and now we cut him? I don't understand it. How bad?
There's a couple of those sort of situations that are starting to come into the forefront that have kind of like thrown me off a little bit like that. And it's like, you cut AP, right? But the running game is not really working. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, and then you get rid of Sean Davis. But that's something that I think will kind of change. I think they might try and maneuver some Kendall Fuller into some sort of safety role. I think
you promised me Kendall Fuller last week and he didn't play, man.
I don't know how that happened. The dude practiced all week.
We needed him, bro.
I think you might see some interesting, if he's healthy, you might see some interesting packages where they drop Fuller back into like a safety role and then they keep that Moreau, Jimmy Moreland sort of situation going on also. And then I will tell you though, the linebackers played a lot better this week. Kevin Pierre-Louis, that dude had a great game. Okay, he had a great game. And then the front defensive line played pretty well. I mean, I called for 5 sacks as a follow-up from the first week prediction. They didn't get 5, but they got 3 sacks. Okay, Chase Young is tied for the league lead in sacks right now with 2.5 sacks.
That's impressive.
Okay, but the thing is that what you did see was Kyler Murray didn't necessarily kill us with his feet throughout the entire game. He only ran for like 60-something yards, right? But it was the key plays that he killed us with his feet. And on both of those touchdown runs, he gave the to Troy Apke, and I mean, it was bad. I mean, it was real.
And on the one that got called back.
Yeah, it was.
He relaxed up, kind of looked like, I'm not gonna do nothing. Hit him with 2 shakes, and then bam, he was in the end zone. But it got called back for holding.
It was, and then DeAndre Hopkins. They played Hopkins pretty well. Defensively, it was. Third down defense, it reminded me of, typical Washington football team third down defense. They just cannot get off the field. They continue to give up those first downs. It doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 23. Like, they were giving up those first downs. And no matter how good your defense is, if they're on the field more than your offense, they're not going to be successful. That's just a fact. Okay. And then as far as the offense goes, all day I heard all this stuff about Dwayne Haskins and how come he can't perform like these other young quarterbacks, and being young isn't an excuse, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, let's look at this like this. He's not turning the ball over. He had the one fumble, but that was all on Brandon Sheriff. The offensive line, Brandon Sheriff is hurt now. He wasn't playing good when he was in there. He's the one that gave up that allowed the pressure to get in on that sack. You know what I'm saying? On the forced fumble. Now, Dwayne Haskins, his balls are missing, right, with the accuracy, but they're not missing.
I thought his balls were missing.
They're not being thrown at the dirt. They're not being thrown in the dirt. They're not
high.
like. They're high, okay?
It's impossible
that's
to correct
something
a high accuracy.
that is not impossible to correct. That's one of the things that, okay, so then put in a taller wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to work with what he's doing, okay? The high passes is something that he can correct, okay? The footwork is something that he can correct. It's interesting because Ron Rivera was saying that the problem is that he's seeing the read, he's making the reads too quick so that he's reacting instantly to the read when he sees something open up instead of, taking his time setting and then releasing, and so these are problems to me that looking at a quarterback position can be overcome and can be, fixed. Another thing is too is that it's the play calling is suspect right now. We've talked about it over and over and over again. They need to run a quicker offense. Okay. Now the second half, they scored on every single possession except for the first one and the last one.
You got to take that with a grain of salt when you're losing.
I understand that, but still, they're still scoring, and that's what another thing that I wanted to bring up too was the way that Ron Rivera kind of collapsed at the end of the game was kind of boggled my mind. Like, you made a great challenge on the 12 men on the field.
Oh, great
defense,
challenge,
right?
yeah.
Great challenge. Mm-hmm. And then you turn around and you go into the locker room losing with 3 timeouts. Like, I don't understand that.
That was so boneheaded.
As a former football player. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I'm always ready to go until the final whistle. Like, you got 3 timeouts. Like, your offense has been playing better in the second half than it did in the first half. Why not continue to push until the end? At least try. You saw what happened in the Dallas game. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were down by.
Yeah, if they give up, that game's
They were
done.
down by 15 points, I think, with 5 minutes left or something around that range. And the football
and 9
team
with 2 minutes left.
The football team had 5 minutes left, 3 timeouts, down 15. That doesn't, to me, that's not very Riverboat Ron. You know what I'm saying?
He's thinking long game, man. He knows this is a rebuild project. He's thinking injuries. He's thinking, let's get off the field healthy, progress week to week. The Beard, we got to get some unbiased input real quick. All I'm hearing out of you right now is a bunch of Homer talk, man.
No, it's not.
Entertainah, I hope you watched a little bit of Washington football.
I watched a little bit of it after the fact. Obviously, I was doing the Giants game, and I watched a little bit after. Listen, I think Washington is definitely headed down the right path. I think they're building the team the right way. It's going to come down to the progression of Haskins, though, and he's definitely inaccurate. There's no doubt about it. He definitely has some deficiencies in his game. You guys don't have any weapons, though. Outside of Terry McLaurin, I mean, who is he throwing to? You don't have that good of an offensive line. Like, you got to be fair in your evaluation, I think, of Haskins. I'm not saying he's the answer, but I don't think you quite know yet. It's funny that he brought up the third down efficiency because it got me thinking about the Giants, and it's something I should have brought up in the Giant game. The Giants are the worst team in football so far in terms of getting off the field on third down, as well as our defense has played. We're giving up a first down 55% of the time on third down. So I thought it was a great point that the Beard brought up with that, because that's going to allow teams to control the clock, eat up the clock, and you're going to lose football games that way. So that's a really good point there by the Beard in this game and just in general. Like, that's a huge key that a lot of people don't look at that in terms of football games. You want to be able to get off the field with your defense. 3 and outs are crucial in terms of field position, things like that. But overall, I mean, I think you got to be happy so far if you're a Washington fan. This was a tough matchup for you guys. Like you said, Murray's the type of player that even when you have a great front four, he's the type of player that could improvise, make plays with his legs, and that's what he did in this game. The guy, I had my doubts going into the season, and I'll be the first to admit when I make mistakes. Kyler Murray's legit. The hype was fair. The guy's going to be top 5, top 6 for the MVP this year. There's no doubt about it. He's a dual threat. He makes plays happen, and that's what you want from your quarterback, and that's what he did here. But I still think Washington is going to be better than people think. I love Ron Rivera. I think he's a really good head coach. I love Del Rio. I think you're building a really good coaching staff there. You're not going to know if you're ready to take that next step, though, until such time you see if Haskins progresses and you give him a better foundation, whether that's for Haskins or the future quarterback. But I really like where Washington's going. I really do. I think they're going to win some games this year that people don't expect. But in terms of this game, yeah, I mean, you just got beat by a better team on the West Coast.
Authentic, man, what did you see from Haskins that maybe gave you a little bit of pause or optimism? And what did you see from the game overall?
I think Haskins was a little bit outmatched in this game. I actually had the Cardinals defense on my bench in my fantasy league and definitely should have started them. I mean, the Cardinals defense showed up, surprisingly. I thought that the Redskins were going to be able to put up a few more points on the board. Running game never got quite clicking. You get down points. It's kind of a similar case of what Carson Wentz was dealing with in Philadelphia this week, just getting down too quick, too early against a really good team. And coming back, that's just a recipe for disaster. I like Dwayne Haskins going forward, but like Entertainah said, man, the weapons just ain't there. His weapons that are there, he's utilizing them. Terry McLaurin, 125 yards. I mean, forget how many catches, and he had a touchdown. He damn near almost won me my fantasy game because I got McLaurin on my team too. I needed Drew Brees to put up under 10 points on Monday night. He ended up putting up 18. So when y'all were talking about not wishing on injury upon player, that was the time I hope Drew Brees knocked out the game so I could get that W. But I think the Giants not the Giants. I think that the Washington football team, they're building that foundation at least defensively on the front four for sure. And then offensively, you got your quarterback at least for right now. I don't know about going into the future, but you definitely got a stud with Terry McLaurin. At running back, you got some young guys who haven't touched the field yet. I mean, Bryce Love, I haven't seen much out of him. I like what I'm seeing out of Gibson, as a young running back. I think he's pretty solid. He runs tough. He's got some speed. But they're definitely going to have to make some moves in the offseason. I thought y'all should have made some moves at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Steve Sims, he had the fumble too on the special teams vibe.
You guys haven't used Gandy Golden at all.
Yeah,
he got his first career catch in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, a tight end for the Redskins too, man. I know y'all were just like, dang, looking at Jordan Reed with San Fran getting 2 touchdowns this past weekend.
And I called it too on our Sunday show. I was like, Jordan Reed going to have himself a game, caught 2 touchdowns. And not even just Jordan Reed, but Trent Williams. The Bruce Allen effect with Trent Williams is having this long-term, devastating effect on our offensive line. Have you seen Trent Williams out in San Francisco yet? It's like IHOP. He's got pancake blocks everywhere. It's crazy. I'm like, man, I knew he could do it, but he just didn't want to do it here because Bruce Allen they messed up.
Yeah, well, man.
What does that tell you? Yeah, what does that tell you about Washington that,
It tells me that thank God Ron Rivera's here.
Yeah, I mean, and first year
right.
You got a new coach, man. It's especially without the preseason, goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Teams that have new systems, new coaches, it's taking them even longer to get clicking than these teams who have already had their systems in play. You see it with Pittsburgh. I mean, they come out week 1, they hiccup for about a quarter and a half, and then quarter 2, 3, 4, they're flying. Their wide receivers looking great. Juju Smith-Schuster's looking like the old Juju. So, I mean, I think that with teams like the Giants, the Washington football team, and with Dallas dealing with the new coaches, it's surprising to see Dallas put up 39 points in week 2 with a new coach. I think that's granted it's Atlanta's defense, but I think that we're dealing with that with the new coaching and not getting the proper time in the offseason to really groom these players to really understand the systems all the way. But I will say this, a lot of ways Washington is prepared defense. I told you last week, I love the motion that we're seeing pre-snap. I think that's amazing. You keep defenses off guard, especially when you got a young quarterback like Dwayne Haskins back there. Showing motion pre-snap is going to keep teams guessing. So I think that both these teams are headed in the right direction, but we're just seeing, a bunch of kinks out of a bunch of young players and young staff, people who are just getting into the building, trying to get accustomed to what they've seen with these teams.
I would like to see the football team come out cleaned in a hurry-up offense to start the game.
And some early, both teams, Giants and the football team, what's up with some deep attack early in the game, man? You know,
Take
we're
a
not
shot early.
seeing that. We're just
Terry
not seeing
McLaurin
that.
he's the truth. It's same thing, and you guys know if you watch the podcast, you guys know that even as a Washington fan, I'm a football fan first, and I am really high on Darius Slayton. And we were talking about Darius Slayton on Sunday about. This is the guy that's going to have a big game for the Giants this weekend, and I mean he didn't have the performance that we were all looking for him to have against Chicago Bears. But him and McLaurin, like, you have these two young weapons, okay? Like, everybody else is kind of just like additional pieces. Just be honest with what you have. If you have weapons like a Darius Slayton, like a Terry McLaurin, it is your job as a football coach to get them the ball. No matter how you have to do it, draw it up so that you can get them the ball. Get them the ball first on the bubble screen. Then run the ball with Gibson. Then throw play action deep ball. Whatever you have to do.
If you can't get him the ball,
order,
then you got to run a double reverse.
Then you got a problem. But I mean, like, this is what I'm looking for. Like, Terry McLaurin has gone up against Patrick Peterson. Terry McLaurin went up against Darius Slay. Competition not going any easier down the road here for the Washington football team either. I mean, the NFC East has a tough schedule, all of us.
Yeah.
So it's
the toughest schedule I can remember, man.
It's not going to get easy. You're going to play against these defenses, especially in the AFC South. Don't forget the Browns have Myles Garrett. Like, don't forget about Myles Garrett's going to be coming off that edge for Dwayne Haskins all day next week. And, they got his name is off the top of my head right now. What's the DB's name out in Cleveland?
Denzel Ward.
Denzel
Ward. So McLaurin going to have another matchup next week. But, I mean, he's proven that those matchups are not too big for him. And I think that it's time for the coaching staffs to just take the training wheels off. If you're worried about long term, let's see what we got going. Let go of the back of the seat of the bike. Take the training wheels off, and let them go. If they crash,
because it does seem like they're game managing with Haskins. I mean, he's not crazy turning the ball over. Let's see him sling it.
It's the same thing with Jones. You hit it right on the head. I think they've only really taken one, maybe two shots down the field more than 20, 25 yards now. Part of that, I think, has to do with the fact that the Giants' offensive line just can't block for more than 3 seconds. And you need more than 3 seconds for the players to get down the field. But I agree, as a Giants fan, I have the same thing. I'm like, for us to get this running game going, the defense has to respect the deep ball. You got to try to stretch the field. And like you said, Darius Slayton, much like McLaurin, we got to start to utilize him a lot more. And especially with Shepard going down. Like, Darius Slayton is by far our best weapon at the wide receiver position. So I'm with you on that with the Giants. Same thing. I'd like to see them come out chucking the ball against the 49ers right away, especially with Sherman out. Try to take advantage of that banged-up defense. They're missing their pass rushers. I think the Giants got to try to stretch out that defense right away, first drive.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And even if you got to keep people in, keeping your tight end in, Darius Slayton's first touchdown week 1, there was only 3 wide receivers in the route. Everything was man coverage and allowed him to get right down the middle of that cover 2 man and get a post route for a touchdown. So even if you got to keep Evan Ingram in, or if you got to keep
get him out of there, put Toilolo in there,
put somebody in there who can handle it, help out your right tackle, your left tackle, and give Daniel Jones the time to be able to throw the ball down the field. One thing I want to touch on real quick is when we're doing true, we jumped on our winner here. Looking back at the chat, my girlfriend just sent me this. Lax044 actually got Matt Schaub before him. And Nick the Wick, he said Matt Sean, but I think that's good enough. So what we'll do is I actually got a third one of those T-shirts. We'll send out 3 T-shirts to each one of y'all. Just we'll put our email actually in the comments here so y'all can send it. Or you can hit us on Instagram,
At Awthentik and The Beard, which will be in the description of this video. Also, for those of you that are not, there's a lot of you that are already subscribed to the Entertainah, but if you are not subscribed, we did put the link in the description, so make sure you guys head over there and subscribe to his channel. I mean, the dude puts out so much content, and it's amazing stuff. We've all, people who aren't even Giants fans, like, we're all there in chat, and it's a lot going on. It's good stuff. So I highly recommend
Tanner, man,
that.
I get a lot of my breaking news from you, Tanner. So people that's looking for like that Adam Schefter kind of vibe of breaking news, when something happens, you need that quick video to get the information quick so you can go back to your buddies and act like you know what you're talking about. Definitely subscribe up to Tanner. I'm telling you, he's going to give you all the goods. I'm telling you.
Ben Nagel is quick. He just sent us his address. He's like, I really want that. that shirt.
I got you, Benny. We gonna send Benny the Redskins one here, and then I got a gray one I'll send out, and we got the Jets vibe. I keep
Stop
calling
saying
it for the
Jets, man. It's a
Just
losing
say
shirt when you
Celtics
say
or something,
Jets,
you
yeah.
know?
Anything but Jets.
Eagles.
No.
That's a losing too.
No.
Oh yeah, we got our NFC East Eagles and Washington football team.
Now we're talking. All right, let's kick it to one more commercial break, and then we're going to say goodnight to you folks. Hang tight for us. That was a little commercial for our newest Sunday 11 a.m. segment called The Parlay. We give you all your up-to-date fantasy information as well as betting. If you watched us last Sunday, you might have won some money. We were hitting on some big ones.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones, big game. We're going to say goodnight to everybody. Jonathan Taylor.
Give one more.
Jordan
Reed.
Jordan Reed. Oh, don't forget Jonnu Smith. Two touchdowns.
Yeah, Jonnu was balling.
I was on fire.
On fire. So that's just even more of an advertisement to come check us out on Sunday morning. Entertainer, do you have anything you want to say to the fans real quick before we sign off?
I just had an absolute blast coming on here, talking some NFC East football with you. Thank you guys for having me on. And yeah, man, you this podcast is legit. You got, like I said before we started, you guys do a phenomenal job here. And just keep doing what you're doing, man. This is gonna grow. You guys got great graphics. You do a great job with the stats. You're running those stats. I'm like, how the hell does this guy know all these stats? These such obscure stats you come up with. It's great. It's great. You guys do your research. You guys put in great work, and this thing is going to grow. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Authentic, man. Say something to the fans.
Hey, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in. All the new viewers from Entertainah's channel. Y'all be seeing me in the chat. It's glad to finally see y'all over here on our channel, man. Got to thank my man Entertainah for coming out. Always tell him he's one of the biggest reasons why we started this podcast. Tim had came to me with the idea about a year before we started it, and that summer I started watching Tainer's channel, and I was just like all into the YouTube content as far as sports go. He really motivated that for me, so got to thank him for coming on to the show. I mean, that's just like a milestone for our podcast, for Awthentik and The Beard, to have, to me, the #1 New York Giants podcaster on the whole YouTube community on the show with us, sharing his following with us. We really appreciate that. I'm gonna have to send you something, bro. I'm gonna do something real nice for you,
man.
bro.
No. You've been supporting me from the start.
Washington football team hoodie.
Anytime
I got something for you.
Anytime you guys want me to come on, you let me know. I'll come on.
That's what's up, man. Well, I definitely want to have you back on the show. I heard you say you like the mic, so we're gonna finesse something for you. We're gonna make something work. But as far as the people who've been continually supporting our show, man, I see y'all in the chat every week. Ben Noggle, Glock, I see y'all. Ben B, I see y'all. Y'all are in here every week supporting this channel, man. We couldn't do this without y'all. Definitely make sure to check us out on Thursday. What's the Thursday night game this week, fellas?
Thursday night game is Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
My Jacksonville
Dolphins.
Mustache magic.
Versus the Dolphins?
Yeah. Versus the Dolphins. I think it'll be a fun game, man. What are you guys talking about?
Hey, I tell you what, Cincinnati and Cleveland looked like that was going to be a dud this past Thursday, and we got a great game out of that. At least some points, some good running out of the two running backs from Cleveland.
Think about
the Monday night game this week is ridiculous.
Who we got on Monday night?
Chiefs and Ravens.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a crazy one, man. I got Chiefs defense sitting them on the bench for that one.
Yeah.
Look, Thursday night, you got Minshew's mustache versus Fitzpatrick's beard, man. That's going to be a matchup,
That
boy.
is a matchup.
That is for the barber.
I'm waiting for Fitzpatrick to hit the bench, man. I'm done with Fitzpatrick.
Tua
said Matt Schaub still got a job. Him and Fitzpatrick, man, go start a podcast or something. Talk about football. Because their days on the field to me are numbered, man. But thank you to everybody who tuned in, man. Just keep an eye out for what Awthentik and The Beard are doing, and make sure you subscribe to Entertainah, man. We constantly trying to provide y'all with good content. I already know Entertainah's got 1,000 videos of great content. We trying to catch up, man. So yeah, just appreciate everybody in the chat checking us out tonight, man.
The Beard, man. Talk to your fans real quick before we sign off.
I just want to say thank you to everybody once again, as always, for the support. Last week was a huge week for us. Sunday show was crazy. We had tons of people show up. Much love, everybody. Shout out to everybody who's watching us on all the other platforms, on Facebook, Twitch, Periscope. We can't thank you guys enough. Shout out to Entertainah, man. Like, this was so much fun, and I was just super thankful for you to come and like chop it up with us. Like, you know, it's always interesting to have other people's perspectives, especially people who, you know, really just are watching the football, and it's not just like the Redskins and the Giants suck and this and that. Like, it was just good to talk football, and, you know, I can't thank you guys enough for all the support. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, you know, just in case we do like a crazy, like, instant live, like at halftime or something like that. So we appreciate all the love and support. I'm going to let Scotty Boomz send us away.
I can't say it any better than these guys say it. I got no rants this week. I got nothing else to give you guys. Entertainah, once again, man, if you don't follow him, get on this channel. It's one of the best. He's an absolute titan in our industry. We all look up to this guy. He's amazing. He put this before us, and we've kind of taken it by the neck and rolling with it. Thanks again for tuning in tonight. We're going to see you guys on Thursday for our preview show as far as the next week's NFC East games. Have a beautiful evening. Stay safe. Good luck. Best division of football.